All right, it's 8:17 and I'll call the meeting to order for the Whatcom Public Utility District number 1. Start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let's go to the agenda. Are there any modifications or changes to the agenda? And we will not be having an executive session today.
That's correct, unless the commission requests one.
So let's
We approve the agenda.
yeah, so any motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Let's move on to the consent agenda, where we have the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting and the claims for June 24th for today. Oh, sorry, two meetings, the regular our last regular meeting, which was June 10th, and the special meeting of June 19th. Wait a
Just
second.
one correction there is that I believe it's the June 24th meeting.
Yeah, I think there's a mistake. Yeah, thank you for
In our packet, we
Well,
only have the June 24th.
Joseph, shouldn't that be the regular meeting of June 24th and the special meeting of June 19th?
Yes.
Yes, I apologize. I was putting dates down, so that should have been, yes, it should have been regular meeting of 6/24 or actually, yeah, it should have just been the regular minutes of 6/24 and the claims for today. I completely apologize. So the claim should read July 8th, regular meeting 24th, and no special meeting.
Right,
Correct that.
repeat what Commissioner Yuri said, is that's what's in the packet is June 24th, June 19th, and July 8th. For the three respective dates.
Right, so just to clarify for the motion, moving to approve the consent agenda for approval of the minutes for June 24th only, and for the claims of July 8th.
Correct.
Do we have the minutes of the special meeting?
That was approved at the last meeting.
Okay. Okay.
And I apologize. I'm not sure where I was at, but I'm here now. So
Okay, it's not a problem. So again, the motion is to approve the regular meeting of June 24th and the claims for July 8th.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And let's move on to public comment. We have two public comment periods. This is the first one. Looks like we have somebody online who'd like to speak. Let's do that first.
Can we eject this person from the meeting?
because it is a public meeting, you can silence them and no longer call on them, but they are allowed attendance.
Yes, I silenced them, of course.
And if there's any tools we can use to identify who it is. We can follow up on that. Is there any way we can trace that?
I would just defer to John for his opinion on this.
If we could call the police or whatever to trace it, I don't know.
You can exclude somebody, or you would postpone the meeting to a time if it became disruptive. I don't think that blast was disruptive while distasteful. We can mute them and call on them if they seek to speak, and then if they're disruptive like that, you mute them again.
Looks like they left.
Yeah, they've left. Okay. Let's move on.
Any other public comment?
Is there any comment in the room? Okay, so let's move on to the general manager's report.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. There's just a couple of quick things. One, a reminder, next commission meeting, I'll be in Portland and Kurt will be covering, so expect to see him here. I'll be down with the NWPPA, working with them on their 2026 conference.
It's 2026 what conference?
Engineering operations.
Okay.
They they talked to me about Fusion at one point, you know, why are you so interested in this? And they said, oh my God, could you help us organize a panel? And that's how I got sucked in. So. Second thing is, just a reminder, Fridays are open house, 1 to 3. We do have the panelists that are out here. If you would like, to take a look at them today, that'd be great. We're all set for that. And last but not least, I want to give a special shout out to both Lisa and to Jamie for all the work they did on the terrific float. It was really an exciting experience, and Lisa, well, thank you very much. And that's it for the GM.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun.
Was.
I hope it was fun for you, everybody doing all the work, because it was fun for the
That
participants.
was so much fun.
It's the largest paper tape project I've ever done.
Our hands were yellow.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Oh, there's lots of
Oh,
photos,
yeah.
but not here, yeah.
Yeah, no, because, I mean, and part of when you orchestrate something like that, it's what, part of the reason you do it is just so it'll be fun for everybody else. So maybe if it wasn't 100% fun for you, I just wanted to know it was fun for me,
It was-
100% fun
Yeah,
for me.
good, I'm very glad, but what I hope is that it gave us some brand recognition, that's the goal, so.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it also says sense of community, a greater sense of community too.
And I think it did drum up some interest in our open house, so I saw some comments from people specifically saying that they would like to attend.
I ended up
Because they saw us in the parade, so that's good. Boy, we went through a lot of candy, over 60 pounds. of
Over,
candy.
yeah, 60 pounds
Yeah.
is not enough.
Yeah,
know.
I was handing out necklaces.
I don't know how much it takes, but it's more than 60 pounds.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so thanks again for all of that. I think it was a good experience, and anyway, we'll learn from it
Yeah,
and do things, keep doing things in the future. Should we move on to the operations report?
Kurt?
Good morning, commissioners. I have two things today. One of them is we have divers over at Plant One cleaning our intake facility. And one of the things that we've always encountered with our previous divers is that they get about halfway through the screen gallery and they just kind of run out of steam or whatever the situation may be, and we don't actually get everything cleaned. The crew we have now, they've actually gone from the south end all the way to the north end, and about halfway through, they encountered sediment upwards of 5 and 6 feet deep in our intake facility. And so they really have made quite a bit of progress. And so we're kind of excited to see what kind of flows we can get with the intake wells cleaned out like this. So I think that's parts of the intake facility that no divers have probably been in at least 10 years, realistically, maybe except for just little channels of water flowing into the intake pumps. So that's a good thing we're pretty excited about. And then the other portion is we've been working on a D station. Lots of work there for the new metering facility for BP's our main customer point right there. I'm going to show a couple pictures here. Can you see that there? Can you see some pipes?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So the black pipe there, you can see we had to blow out a hole in the wall that will be filled later, and so that's going to be for our bypass line. The existing line is in use currently, and then there you can see that's the outside of the wall. We have the existing pipe that runs to a T, and then that allows us any future connections. And then there's a 90-degree elbow there, and that's going to go to our new metering facility. Actually, I'm going to back up real quick. Can you see there's a person at the top there? That vault is about 6 feet. There's going to be actually another riser on top of that, and that's going to go in that location there. And that's where all the metering and all the controls will go for the new the new site. And so we're going to have full SCADA control. We'll be able to control flow, and just want to show you a few pictures of some of the stuff we got going out in the field.
Flow and bypass flow,
Pardon?
right? And bypass flow.
Yeah, there's the bypass is in that trench on the left-hand side, but that will just be a bypass. And where you're seeing now, that will be the main spot where we use the majority of the time for regular flow.
I forgot, what's the exact location here?
So this is all the way west out on Alder Grove Road, kind of a dead end road before you get to the south end of the BP refinery.
Okay.
And that's all I have if you don't have any questions.
Questions? No? Thank you,
Okay.
Kurt.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess I did have a question about the water quality right now. What's it like, and
Well,
how
the
much
river, I
chemical are
mean, the turbidity is very low right now. I think we're down in the below 30 for the NTUs.
Okay.
So it's a pretty clean river currently.
So is this correct? I'm about to say something, that when we're going through snow, water quality tends to be higher, better. So we get into the glacial material or the interface between snow and glacier material where the more silt.
Yeah, the glacial till is a challenge. That'll come later in the summer.
Kind of an accurate
Pretty
thing.
much, yeah,
Yeah.
and just runoff. And then you get a lot of ground seed. In the spring, you get this phenomenon called frontal recharge, where your local, low, or your high elevation aquifers get charged up, and it takes about 3 to 6 months for that water to work through and then seep out. So you're getting that very clean water from the frontal recharge and the snow melt at the same time, and not a lot of agricultural runoff. When you get down into the glacial, they call it glacial flour.
I continue to think that some researcher would find our experience with what's the evolving water quality as useful indirect data to understand what's happening with every year with snow melt. And as the river flows. I wonder if that would be useful, interesting information for some researcher. I'm gonna continue to wonder about it. Someday maybe I'll bump into somebody. Good talk.
Thanks, commissioners.
All right, thank you. Anything else for operations? Let's move on to the old business then.
Starting off with broadband update, we really don't have an update, we're just chugging along.
Okay. Our deadline is in 2 weeks, right?
The 23rd.
Less than 2 weeks. We can have.
John, I'll defer to you if you want to give us an education update.
There's really nothing more new to update. We're have a committee meeting this Friday. We're working on a letter to the court, asking for clarification and recommending an extension of the stay, as I mentioned last time. That's the stay on filing of motions pending adoption of rules for court. That's all I have.
I noticed, thank you. Joseph, you have your hand up?
That is not Joseph. That's we.
Commissioners, that
we
is not me. I am a panelist on this. Sorry, Mike, didn't mean to interrupt. Just kind of wanted to defend myself based on what you had told me. That is the gentleman who was previously speaking, and he has re-entered the meeting using my name because you can sign in with anything you want to type in to Zoom. I am a panelist and I keep that is not I.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joseph.
Mhm.
Okay,
So the geothermal update, I know, Andrew, you got the full preliminary report, and I think we forwarded that to all you guys. Did you have a chance to glance through it? I mean, I've read it in detail, and it definitely is a cure for insomnia. And I find that so exciting.
We got an executive summary of the last kind of interim update in the commission meeting. At our next commission meeting, could we get a summary of the report?
Technically, it's no different.
Okay,
So it's just kind of crossing a few Ts and dotting a couple of Is. What we're missing is the micro seismometers and
Okay.
and the seismic data, and that's, to me, that's kind of key. I will say they've invited us to a debrief on, I don't think it's been set yet, has it? So we're gonna talk to them. One of the things that both Andrew and I noticed looking at it was we were looking for a pro forma financial at the back, and it really is not there. So we need to ask about that, but yeah, other than that.
well, if you're gonna direct us to, things to, of note in the report, what would those be? Make my life a little bit easier.
Well, there was a great deal of detail on the depth of, or the temperature profile of depth, where they were speculating on that south of Mount Baker. I would pay attention to that from a
Okay.
scientific point of view. And then just note that the pro forma financials were not adequate.
Yeah, obviously that's important to us. Do they need more, skills, involve more people for that, or is it just more data?
Well, they should need more people. It's a good outfit. I think,
They just weren't there.
yeah, and that may be their answer, is that, you know, you can't get at that information because we don't have it.
Mhm.
And there's no way to put it together until we've got an actual feasibility study.
And that might direct our next step.
Right.
Okay.
So, well, the next step they're recommending is a feasibility study where we punch a couple of holes. And in order to do that, we've got to have control of land. In order to do that, we've got to have the leases. And then there's an auction for the leases, and we're still trying to make all that happen.
Yeah, okay. I think the last you suggested is that, regarding the leases that, to not get too aggressive, wait a little bit, and where are you at on that subject today?
Andrew's been following up with Cantwell's office, and they've been helpful at pinging the other departments, but I think the issue is that that's not what's driving interior right now. So anything that we do now to push on it would be
Counterproductive vehicle.
So it's just a general reminder about every other week. And that's,
Would it be better if we said that this project is in Montana? Would that make it easier?
well, you have to have Montana senator asking about it. That might make a difference, I'm not sure.
I haven't done that to you, so for a while.
I don't even.
I once hung out with Stimson, but, that's it.
Yeah.
John has the same.
John?
Yeah, I wanted to bring something up new for the new business. Given the nature of the initial public comment period, if you want to prevent anything like that at the next comment period, I would suspend the comment period before you open it. Once you open it, you have to have at least let anybody start, and then we can handle any disruptive, distasteful, but we can't pre-screen what someone may or may not say. So your options are moving to amend the agenda to eliminate the second public comment period, or let it start, and if someone does something again, you suspend them immediately. So I wanted to give you those two options before the next public comment session.
So it's going to be attendee list. We don't have anybody from the public, so let's go ahead and I'll make a motion to remove the second public comment period for just for today. Well, unless. If you have anything in the room, just raise your hand and we'll add it back in.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, so all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Alright.
The last item on old business is strategic plan, and Karina's here, and she's gonna lead us through a part of that. I'll just let you know that our two main consultants on this, Karina and Malfoster, thank you. They are working very closely together.
That's
So
great.
This is not a, Karina's doing one thing and Malfoster's doing something else, and they're not talking, they're talking all the time, so this is
They're gonna present us two competing strategic.
No, we're trying to make sure that doesn't happen. It won't happen. They're working very well together. And I think that's it for old business.
Okay, well, let's move on to new business. So the first item on new business is I believe Lisa, correct?
That's correct.
That's
Which is
correct.
a policy presentation and also then a policy action.
Correct, so I'm just gonna share my screen. You. So, and I'll just present from here if that's okay. So, as you know, it has been sort of a topic of conversations since I started here. Policies, procedures and tasks and wanting to do something with that process and with the existing sort of employee handbook that we had. And I know that the previous HR person had been working on that as well, so I sort of inherited that project midway. And we've been working on it. So, then there's various reasons that it's been sort of interest to all of our stakeholders. And obviously commissioners need to approve policy. Management needs clear and concise differentiation between what needs to be done and how it's expected to be accomplished. Supervisors need a consistent process for documenting what is expected of staff, and staff need resources that are up to date and easy to locate. And so after spending quite a bit of time with the documents back and forth with CSD, John's office, I feel like I attended some training earlier this year that I think is gonna be the solution. And after in-depth conversation with Peter as well. So there's a process out there, it's called the Peabody method of
Peter Raffato?
Yes, correct, Peter Raffato, sorry. And so it was developed by a gentleman that worked in a former governor's office. And after that governor was no longer in office and he was looking for something to do, he was recruited to write some policy for the Criminal Justice Training Commission for the state. Because they had some people that were about to retire and they didn't have policy and they were like, oh gosh, we need to get this all sort of written down and we need some help. And that was how he sort of took a turn in his career and started doing that. And since then has spent over 3 decades developing materials and creating training, and his son actually now runs the company. And so I'll just kind of give you a breakdown. And so they break that down into 3 things: policy, procedure, and a little bit further into tasks. So policy is rules versus instructions. It describes the management decision, and management can include any person or group with authority to issue orders that govern the way work must be done. Procedure is lists in order the steps the team takes to complete an action type. And it requires a minimum of 2 people working together to get that work done. And tasks are also listed in order, the steps of, but generally 1 person takes. And it can be to complete a portion of a procedure. It could also be steps that there's maybe no procedure because it's just simple and it only takes 1 person. So you don't necessarily have to have procedure to have a task, or a task and procedure if it goes from person to person. So it more goes from what does the team accomplish, and then are there multiple steps for 1 person? You might have a task that breaks that down even further. So policy is about what should be done. It's the rules, definitions, deadlines, assignments of responsibility, criteria, legal requirements, court rulings. Those are just some of those examples. And these will continue to be approved by Board of Commissioners, so that's not changing. Procedures and tasks then become those step-by-step instructions. So it's the chronological order of the actions to be taken based on the decision makers and the policy that's already been established. So they sort of describe it as flow charting in words, like just step by step, literally. It clearly outlines expectations for staff and should eliminate questions about who should be doing what. And our next steps, our training, so department leads, and by that it would be directors, supervisors in operations, will be receiving training, and there are a bunch of worksheets that we can utilize in the process that come with the training that I went to. So there's a policy planner and layout and writing guide, the same for procedures, the same for tasks. So everyone's gonna receive that same training that I went through so that we are all on the same page. Collaboration, department leads will work together to ensure consistency in structure and style, and assist one another in evaluation of existing documents. And of course, evaluation of the existing policies, to evaluate, and create new ones as needed, and we'll use those new planning and writing guides to do that. It also receive a priority rating scale that we can utilize to help us determine the order in which we might need to do those based on how many people are affected by that policy, how, how urgent is it, and sort of determine the urgency as we go through. And it also helps us determine, do we have areas, maybe we don't have a policy that we might need one. So that, is all part of that process. The objective at the end is that we'll have 3 new sets of related documents that can be stored electronically and linked to one another as appropriate. So policies, procedures, and tasks. And you'll see in the example, so basically your action item following this presentation is an example of the employee appreciation policy that we did back in the fall. And it's just been rewritten in this new format, so there's no change to the content. It's just so that you can see the difference. And we provided an example of the old policy and the new policy with the format, so you can sort of see how it clarifies things and makes it simpler. And so then from there, we would have a new onboarding document, which basically will replace that employee handbook. Right now, that handbook is sort of a mix of some policies, some procedure, and it's not always clear what's what. So we start with 3 new sets of documents: what's policy, what's procedure, what's a task, and then the employee handbook, this onboarding document, which is more of an HR document, will then relate to those items and reference them, and they'll also be linked electronically for staff, so they'll be able to click on that, take them to where that actual policy is, read the full thing. The handbook is gonna have more of a summary of what that is, then the word for word of the policy is gonna reference them back, so that we don't have this one big kind of messy document. And of course, the other objective is, as I mentioned, standardization and ease of access for staff, because right now that's, it's like, well, you have a copy of it, and then what's the current copy? And, is that policy been updated? In this way, if we're linking to policy, we're not updating the handbook every time. We update the policy, it comes to you. You make that final decision, and then that document is linked. So that link doesn't get broken, and they're not trying to figure out how to find that. And we're not having to update the handbook every time and bring it back to you. We're just updating the individual policy as it's relevant. And that is all I have. I know this is a topic that generates some questions, so I'm ready.
Everybody's looking at me.
I don't have any questions. I think you did a wonderful job, Lisa. I know it's not super sexy stuff. But it's really, yeah, I know.
You have any questions, Debbie?
Yeah, I guess I'm interested to review, or just, for reference, because it's not entirely it's not in our packet altogether.
Is it not in your packet?
Well, the employee the presentation isn't.
No, it's not. It will be in the final agenda. Sorry, I have to move it before.
No, that's all good. And, the employee recognition policy pieces, I just, yeah, since, would like, take a look at all, the updated documents just to, fully be aware, but it all sounds like.
The updated documents, the updated policy, you mean?
Yeah, or just the full employee policy doc, the overall thing, the employee,
The handbook,
handbook, yeah, right.
when it's done.
Yeah,
Yeah, oh,
yeah, for
absolutely.
sure.
Mhm.
The process.
Right.
Mhm. It's gonna take some time because we will complete the policies and procedures. Each of those policies will come to you.
Mhm.
Each one, as they're updated, even if it's just for format, will come to you for approval.
Right.
And if you'd like, just like we've done today, we can provide you the previous one and the new one.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that you can see that. And then, but it won't be until that's done that I'll be able to create that onboarding document, that new handbook.
Right.
Because those all have to be updated, and we'll be doing them, there's gonna be a new numbering system, so that right now, there really isn't even a system that makes a lot of sense, so they'll be divided by operations policies, finance policies, personnel policies. And, that separation doesn't exist yet, so it's all just it was sort of like the employee handbook was the policy book. And that just has been very difficult to separate out and figure out how to do it in a way that is more, is more useful for staff more than anything, because right now it's sort of like, well, is that a policy? I mean, it says it in the employee handbook, so does that make it a policy? It doesn't necessarily, and so Peter, Otto and I have been working on that, and so now we're just gonna do that with each policy, and that's also where we'll use, that, some of the guidelines that came from the training is, okay, well, this doesn't seem to have a policy, should it? Is it really policy? And there's ways to sort of evaluate that. Is it more sort of welcome introduction document? And there's those pieces that are part of the handbook that are more of sort of like a welcome, we're glad that you're here. And that's not really policy. So we really want to try to make that clearer. And that's why ultimately we want to have sort of 4 documents in the end.
Right.
And that's what we're hoping for.
And so we're gonna go through it piece by piece.
We are, piece by piece, yes,
Right.
one by one, and you get to see them all, yeah.
Right.
Now, what your presentation does, you define an approach by which you will be going through.
Exactly, and that has literally taken this year.
And that's actually, that was my question.
Yes.
We envision, it will take about a year or two?
Well, it's taken us a year to come to, almost a year, I will have been here a year on August 1st, so. It's taken us almost a year to come up with a process, and I think that this process and this Peabody method is the answer to that. And interestingly, when I came back and I presented it to Peter, he was like, yeah, that has a name, doesn't it? And I was like, oh, they call it the Peabody method. He was like, oh yeah, it's like, we did that at the city of Bellingham, and it's actually pretty well known, in local government. There's a lot, the county uses it. Their numbering system is based on that. So it is pretty widely utilized. And so it makes sense, to be using it. And it took a while for us to figure it out. And when we first started separating it out without those clear guidelines, it was really complicated.
Yeah, you envision how long it will take to go through the?
I hope it will be about a year for all of it,
Yeah, I mean, there's, I don't feel that there's a high degree, any kind of it needs to be done right, and, obviously, yeah.
I think the urgency is for staff. There is a desire to have some procedure,
Okay,
and staff has been asking for that. And I have needed to have this process with sort of your guys' buy-in to this is how we're gonna do it. This is how we're gonna make that change. This is the process. Before I start directing them, okay, here's the format we're gonna use, and, that's what they've been asking for, is some consistency, format, but how, that they all look the same, so everybody's writing it the same, and we needed to agree on policy before we could agree on the procedure format and move forward. So for me, the urgency is staff request. They want those documents, so, I wanna be able to get moving on that for them.
so I think even though you haven't asked for an action on the presentation, I think you're looking for the collective head nod of the commission.
I would
On
say
this
so, yes,
presentation.
that this seems like a good path forward.
And I think you have it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got our head nods.
Okay. And so you have an action item, which really, again, is just,
A specific policy, yeah.
it's a specific policy, and it has no change to the content of the policy that from before, that was reviewed by John, and this has been reviewed by Peter now. Peter and I will be working on this together moving forward. So he's looked at it, and there is, a corresponding procedure, just like we did in the fall for this policy. It's just that now it's in this format.
Got it.
So that's the only difference.
Are there any questions about the procedure for employee recognition? The
Just,
policy for.
well, just so you clarify, so what changed in the format? Or what exactly changed in the?
Yeah, if you look at it, you'll see, and all of the policies will be consistent moving forward, but just sort of
To be,
Yeah, there's a few things in it, really about the way that they write policy is really about using, action wording and taking out stuff that, so you're just being very specific about what's being done and, taking out some of that extra wording. One of the things is just for staff ease again, because sometimes you get policies that are just like really wordy and they sort of describe your intent and all the sort of stuff that isn't really the decision. And so, it's just a format really, more than anything, yeah, that will provide consistency moving forward. Now we don't have that. And when I created that one in October, we needed it to be approved in order to move forward with the employee recognition event that was happening in November. So I just made that format up
Gotcha.
because we didn't have one. So now we have one that we'll be following and they're just all gonna look like that. So it's really just for you to visually see what they'll look like.
Understood. Okay, yeah, this, well, it reads well, it's clear. So yeah, this is the format we're gonna implement across. That sounds good, makes sense. Thanks for clarifying all those.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I will move that we approve action 1.
I'll second.
Approving policy number 1301.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a motion, a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. While we're on the word policy was mentioned several times in the presentation, and something that has occurred to me, and something for us to consider. Is that there is policy that's inwardly focused and how the organization runs and operates, and that's what, when in your use of the word policy, I believe that's primarily what you're focusing on.
I would say it's both. I mean, there's some that's, and I'm not sure if you mean like operationally focused or.
Yeah. So I was thinking about something else, which is like policy in the term of on transmission. That's really policy about how we relate to the rest of the world, whether it's a state level, national level, or other local governments level. And I don't know if it's helpful to differ in our nomenclature to differentiate policy. I do personally. And when I think about policy that's inwardly focused, I think I've used this nomenclature before and I'll continue to use it, is it's operational excellence. And the use of policy as it relates to how we relate to the rest of the world, including our community, and the voters and the citizens. It's about, are we doing everything we should be doing as an organization to meet the needs of the community, and also how are we relating to various governmental entities and non-governmental entities, the business world. So that's, I'm just saying that they're a little different way I look at them. The operational excellence is we're kind of standing side by side with the general manager, supporting the general manager, is taking the primary lead in defining how the organization runs, and then the our outwardly looking is a little bit different. It's really the commission bringing in the wants and needs of the community. So it's a different kind of policy, and I think that in my mind, I differentiate them. I don't know if we need to do that in terms of nomenclature.
Can I just,
Observation.
yeah, go ahead, you first.
So when, I think about specific cases. So for instance, the Snake River dams. I think that's what you're talking about. Looking externally and what do you guys do? So I think if you have a policy that sets up how you deal with issues like that, you're gonna be bound. It's going to tie you up, as opposed to just having an open discussion and then you do a resolution.
Yeah.
If it's an emergent issue, I can't write a policy that covers all emergent issues that are, I'm just cautioning you, which we can do that, but I think it'd tie you up in knots of it.
No, that's good, thank you for that.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And that's what we've done.
Yeah,
Right.
I think what you're talking about is more about commission action, resolution, that's more specific to a situation as opposed to a policy, like Chris is saying that.
And,
Is intended
and we can
for-
call those policies, but they're, we actually call them resolutions
Correct,
typically.
yeah, I think it's just a different verbiage for that.
Good, I just wanted to process that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Is there any, further discussion before we move on to, Karina's, presentation or workshop? Okay, do we need to take any breaks or anything like that? No,
I
okay.
don't think so.
All right, so, let's get started, Karina. Please proceed.
Da-da-da-da.
you.
Well, an audience does not.
Can I?
Do you all mind if I
No, please.
It's cozy.
eat some popcorn?
Yeah. With that, yeah, David, what was they? Sorry, John. You've been used to not doing it, that make me displacing.
No, I'm going.
I wanna,
I don't do anything to trigger your cough. Trigger your cough.
oh,
Oh, no.
I also have a tickle. I had last time I was here too, yeah. I also wanna thank you for suspending that public comment period. That took me about 15 minutes to recover from that, so, and I was just an observer, so. Imagine, you know, on the receiving end of that comments was difficult. Okay, so we have two jobs today. We're gonna talk about vision, and hopefully, but potentially finalize that. And we're gonna dig into values a little bit more. Potentially, take some action on values. I spoke to two of the three of you, sorry, we missed each other, Jamie. Sorry. And I said, I asked you to come prepared to talk specifically about edits to the vision that you all agreed was the sort of, is the best one that we had, the one that you wanted to be the working document. So we'll start with that, and then, again, my hope is that we'll get to a point where y'all feel good about at least calling it a draft, and or voting on it. If you vote, I don't think you vote on it right now, you'll vote on the final strategic plan, but you'll offer your vision for that process. And then, like I said, we'll move into values, and I know I have 2 hours, I'm not sure we're gonna need it, but we'll see how it goes. So any questions about what we're planning on doing before we launch into vision?
No, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Every time, well, not every time, a lot of the times when I do work on documents, I review them on the screen, I read them on screen, they look good on screen, and then we print them out, and then we realize we don't like them, or they look different, or they planned differently. So what I did today for vision was two things. I wrote it up here in my kindergarten teacher handwriting, not kindergarten teacher. And I just did kind of a fun mock-up of your vision. So this is draft, as we know. 2, 3, 4. But it just sort of gives you two different ways to look at the same exact words. Do y'all want one? To edit. And, I think I mentioned to those of you I spoke to on the phone that I wasn't planning on any fancy fancy facilitator activities. I think y'all just need to talk about what resonates with you, what doesn't, and what your changes are. And kind of see how the conversation goes. I do want to remind the commissioners, though, that the test that we talked about the last time we were here, and the tool, I know you watched the video of this, asked us to make sure that a vision is both is resilient, inclusive, and service oriented. That came from that Simon Sinek video. And would anyone like me to remind you what resilient, inclusive, and service oriented means? No, I'm good. Great. Okay. So, it's all yours.
Well, you haven't had a chance to speak on it.
Oh, after I've listened to the hour meeting
Yeah.
and then I briefly mentioned in our next commission meeting, but I also agreed with version 3. I liked it, except with the, caveat that I wanted to make sure that we incorporated the needs of the public. So, to some extent, this language that Green is proposing, does capture that. I've got some suggestions to this language that I think would do a better job of that.
Shoot.
So there's 2 parts to my input. I'll focus on the second part because it addresses my biggest desire. And that is, instead of saying that keep our communities resilient in a changing world, I would suggest that supports our community's resilience in a changing world. Support, conveys more, curiosity and, awareness of what's actually going on in the community than keep. And I'm not sure we've actually assessed the community's resilience. If we had assessed the community's resilience, and we could find a mark that we're trying to keep. And I don't think we have that. So I don't think the word keep is the right word to use. So I'm suggesting in the second part that we change the language to be that supports our community's resilience in a changing world. And then I have input on the first part too.
Just read it, give me the whole thing one time.
Okay, to build a future, I've got changes on the first part, but I'll wait till later. To build a future of Whatcom County with smart investments in clean, sustainable infrastructure that supports our community's resilience in a changing world.
That supports our community's resilience in a changing world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Friendly.
Okay, that's one.
Are you okay with that, Karina?
I'm okay with whatever you're okay with.
No, well, I know, but you
Okay.
wrote this for a reason, so this is,
Yeah, and again, to remind you, this was based on the, documents that you all provided me, the conversations and the discussions we had. So this should be a reflection of what you all see. Yeah.
okay, so I've input on the first half too.
Supports our communities.
So I'd like to go to that subject then.
Yeah, go ahead.
To build the future of Whatcom County with and delete smart investments in. So to build a future of Whatcom County with clean, sustainable infrastructure. To me, smart investment, I don't like the word use smart anymore. I used to. It hasn't, obviously, everything we do, we're gonna try to be smart about it. So for that reason, I don't like smart. And then investments implies that all we are going to do is do target investments. We're not a venture capital firm. We, yeah, we're gonna do smart investments, but that's a small piece. So that's not the only piece. So I shouldn't say smart. It's not the only piece. It's not just investments. It's policies that support clean, sustainable infrastructure. So again, I'm suggesting it be the first part be to build a future of Whatcom County with clean, sustainable infrastructure.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, smart investments is sort of redundant or. I'm not, yeah, I don't like that. Yeah, I like that change.
Can I add just a little, like, not push back entirely,
No, yeah.
but one of the things that I like about smart investments is that it keeps the door open, I feel like, in my opinion, for partnerships. That we aren't building all of these things solely by ourselves, that we're investing in this community and we're partnering with other, entities to
Mhm.
build these things.
I like that.
And I think if we don't have that sort of building with smart investments and clean, if we just say that we're building clean, sustainable infrastructure, it sounds like we are the ones that are doing this ourselves, and just in
Mm.
my experience, we don't get anything done without the help of other organizations, entities, funders, and I think, so I hear your thought about like investment firms or whatever that it conjures
Mhm.
that. But for me, I think that there's a lot of ways that we invest in our communities that has nothing to do with, you know, adventure capitalism or,
I guess,
you know, sweat labor, and I get that, but that's, so anyway, that's why I like smart investments, and I don't know if we can change it to be, to co-build, you know, I don't,
collaboratively build.
maybe, I don't know,
And that kind of strikes me as wandering off into corporate buzzwords. And that's how smart struck me, because smart's in the added folder.
Mhm.
And,
so what if we nix smart? Because we all,
investment.
I think our investing and clean and, cause you're right, smart is one of those sort of like, you really need it, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, investment.
Strategic.
And-
With, strategic investments with, I don't know, just investment.
How about
We're making
investment?
investments in our.
And why, what about, can I suggest something, what about getting rid of the S? Investment, or I don't care if it's S or no S, actually, I don't care. I don't care, I'm not gonna
If you
micromanage.
do an investment, it's more of a verb then.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking.
Yeah.
That's why I said investment.
You make it a verb.
You're familiar with this editing? It was like strike it.
Yeah.
Replace it. Okay. So the dots underneath me, never mind the strike,
Yeah, okay.
okay? So.
And then strike the S on
Just the S.
investments.
And then we want to leave the N as well leave the N in.
Or what if you made it actually made it a verb, like investing,
By investment.
By investment.
or through investing, by investing.
At this point, it's, I have no more input, yeah.
Just.
Yeah, I mean, I-
Write it out.
Can we just hear you say it out loud?
Yes, and I am gonna just say by investing, this is also to build the future of Whatcom County by investing in clean, sustainable infrastructure that supports our community's resilience in a changing world.
Pretty
Go
close.
ahead, Robin,
Pretty
I
close.
know.
Really, I can hardly stand it.
Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
Well, I have some experience with these vision statements, and it seems to me they need to be as concise as possible with the least amount of adjectives you can find. And there's a lot of repetition in this. The future of Whatcom County is, makes our communities kind of redundant. I would lose, 30% of the words here by avoiding using adjectives and saying plainly with nouns and verbs what you intend to do. To me, it might be more useful to say support Whatcom County resilience in a changing world with smart investments, or with, the verbiage you want to use about investments. You don't have to say smart, we're just assuming that.
Mhm.
So something like use investments in clean, sustainable infrastructure to support Whatcom County's resilience in a changing world. I think you should make it as simple as you can.
I think that, I mean, we did get rid of smart.
Mhm.
So, and what other, and you don't wanna see communities like community and Whatcom County, so you
That
get,
is your community.
okay.
You could say
So redundancy.
Mm-hmm. To build the future of Whatcom,
to build,
to build a resilient,
Well, I think.
I think,
Okay.
can we call this the next iteration and then we'll revisit it again? Is that okay? Does it need to be finalized today? We don't need to finalize today.
it's, yeah, your process is your process.
But this densification point, let's revisit that. and figure out ways to maybe further make it denser.
So do you wanna ask me to continue to refine, to offer some
Is
refinements based on this?
What does the commission say? Do we wanna keep wordsmithing this now, or do
Well,
we back to it?
isn't the whole point to wordsmith that?
Yeah, it
Yes.
is.
Like,
Do we wanna do that today though, or are we gonna do another iteration?
Well, so maybe to build the future of Whatcom County by investing in clean, sustainable infrastructure that supports resilience in a changing world.
But that's not what
That-
Robin was getting at.
Well, he wanted to get rid of county, right? I mean, he wanted to get rid of communities.
Well, so he put the action up front, and the action was to support our community's resilience through investing in clean, sustainable infrastructure. Boom.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm, that's friendly. I mean, it's to me that says.
And
I forgot in the
it's
change.
denser.
Does that capture what you were after, Robin?
Yeah, I said my piece.
Can you say that again, Chris?
Your job now.
Yeah, so it's, to support our community's resilience in a changing world by investing in clean, sustainable
Oh, we have to go
infrastructure.
slower.
Communities,
Oh, sorry,
resilience,
resilience in a changing world
okay?
by investing
Yeah.
in clean, sustainable infrastructure.
That's denser. Eddie?
yeah,
Possibly goes here, I think.
I think Rob was definitely onto something, densifying, more, more concise the better to capture it, since we're all pretty much agreement with the idea. And the way Chris spelled it out, I just written down something pretty similar in, moving things around along those lines. The way I wrote it, just as a alongside here was, supporting community resilience in the changing world with investment in clean and sustainable infrastructure.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Do you
Yeah.
need a changing world in there?
I think it should, the only reason you didn't put, I think the world knows it's changing. The question is that, it might be helpful for us to communicate that we're aware that the needs are evolving and the landscape is evolving.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea, is keeping in there this sense of,
Our awareness that things are,
change, we're being proactive, not just along for the ride in change. And that we need to adapt and evolve and all that. I don't know if that's all necessarily.
I mean, the mountain is literally changing. Yeah, the mountain is literally changing. I mean, so, we gotta be responsive to that.
It's a question, is changing world the right way to capture?
I don't know, I could do without it. I think the changing world bit sort of speaks to our values, right? That we're acknowledging that the world is changing.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And that climate change is real and
Yeah,
all of those things. I don't know if we need to put it in the vision or not.
Yeah, there's sort of a strength of ambiguity here, that it can mean a lot of different things. Changing in all kinds of ways.
So is this resilient? Is it able to withhold cultural, technological, or economic change?
I think we have to get rid of changing world.
Okay, let me read these.
What if we ever get in a situation where the world isn't changing?
This is just your vision. I mean, is it inclusive? Is it put into words that inspire all of us? Every member of your workforce, community, customers feel like they can contribute to this vision directly. And service oriented, the primary benefactor cannot be the contributor. In this case, the primary benefactor of your vision would be the customer. And community, not the PUD.
Are you feeling strongly we should ever change the world? Jamie? Or are you feeling, what do you, I didn't hear you.
And I would get rid of it. I mean, I think the reason why you invest in clean, sustainable infrastructure is that you're acknowledging that the world is changing.
For sure, it's implied.
Yeah.
It's absolutely implied.
Okay.
Let's see how it reads with us. Support our community's resilience by investing in clean, sustainable infrastructure.
That's about as simple as it gets.
It's pretty concise. I mean,
Eddie, did you have an edit?
What if it was? Just trying it out, or is that? Not 100% sure this would be better, but what if it was supporting resilient communities with clean and sustainable infrastructure? Or is community resilient? Resilience is more of the idea.
I think so.
But we're also supporting communities. Right?
well,
Yeah,
one of the things that I like about, to support our community's resilience, I think when you start talking about Whatcom County being multiple communities, it adds division that we don't need to have. I actually would like to change that to Whatcom County, so instead of communities,
Yeah, that's good too.
yeah, yeah, like when you get into that, just sort of, like,
I like that. Well, since it's a redraft, why don't you just erase and? Okay.
And county.
Why, yeah.
Support Whatcom County's resilience.
By investing in clean, sustainable.
What if it were just support resilience? Because Whatcom is already in our name. So.
I think
Sort of
Jamie is
imply that.
suggesting that it's worth a worthwhile duplication to say Whatcom County.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the idea though that the county is, that the county's a construct that we operate within. But what we do doesn't may actually also, support
More than one.
beyond our county border, right?
Sure.
And definitely, fluidity across some lines here, there's potential for that, so. And also Whatcom County, just because there's a bit of Whatcom County can mean the government, not necessarily the people. Not everyone here identifies that way.
I would be really opposed to talking about infringing on other like PUD's territory by suggesting, or even other utility territory. I mean, of course, we want to change the world, but like this is our purview, right? Like this is where we get to make decisions. And we have to have a vision for Whatcom County, and of course, we want to collaborate with other people, but I think in our vision, we need to talk about what we're doing. Go ahead, Lisa, sorry.
Well, Eddie, I hear what you're saying, and that when you see that, you could misinterpret that as being like, we're gonna support the county. As opposed to the community, but what if you went back to supporting our community's resilience, but it isn't a plural, it's one community.
Yeah.
Community.
Like why has.
Why it has to be S, rather than defining it as we have multiple communities within our county.
Yeah.
But that we are one community, Whatcom County is as a community.
Community,
So
with the
not
Y and
community,
apostrophe
but-
S.
Correct. It's a subtle difference, but you're defining it as one community. As opposed to multiple.
That's friendly.
Okay.
For me, I don't know about it. I'm not gonna say anybody.
And then you're not calling out Whatcom County, but it's started with five, because it's in our title, that our county, our community is Whatcom County.
Right, it's understood from.
So our
Right,
community.
I don't know, it's just an idea,
Yeah.
that it makes it.
Yeah, I like that.
See that?
Yeah, I'd like to, yeah, look at it.
And then I'm gonna read your mission.
Wording.
Because it's part of the story too. To support our community's resilience by investing in clean, sustainable infrastructure.
I like that.
Your mission,
What if it was just community resilience, like as
To support community resilience.
more, instead of our communities? It's more of the.
I mean, I'm also fine with that, like if you
Yeah, I'm fine
guys
with that too,
decide
yeah.
form wise that's what, yeah. Yeah, just to be clear, the only thing that I didn't like is dividing our county into multiple communities.
Community resilience, is that the same meaning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, so mission
You're not
and
presenting.
vision frequently go together. Mission, your mission right now as it stands, and I believe you're not changing that as part of this process.
Oh,
is-
sure, we can change your process. We can change vision if we want. But you can.
She's like, hold on, she looks at the clock, she's like,
I was like, wait, is that Hillary? Call Hillary. Whatcom Public Utility District, oh wait, y'all know your mission, you can probably just recite it for me, I don't need to read it, right?
No, you better read it.
You're-
You better read it. She's good.
Oh, oops, is a,
Oh, yeah, I think on my bike, I'm just thinking of reading.
that was not a shame.
Say it to myself.
Whatcom Public Utility District is a steward of public assets and resources, providing locally controlled utility services for the benefit of the community. And our vision is to support community resilience by investing in clean, sustainable infrastructure.
I mean, they marry together fairly well,
Yeah,
right?
not a bad fit.
Not a bad fit.
Here's where
Any
I
other
noticed a
comments?
flaw.
Hang on, any other
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, a couple things. What, could you just read that one more time, the mission, please?
Whatcom Public Utility District is a steward of public assets and resources, providing locally controlled utility services for the benefit of the community.
Right. Yeah, I kind of agree. Are we not also updating the mission? In this, like, is that not in the scope of this sort of thing? Okay.
No, I mean, we haven't talked about that.
Okay. Just
We
the,
just kind of skipped over it.
we kind of skipped over, it, yeah, just because not thinking that they.
We're
they do
leading
kind of
with
go
vision.
together. And then is it, and then not wanting to be too redundant or duplicative in the statement, then, yeah, is that, but it seems consistent. I just had this thought, if we wanted to go say, what if we simplified it even more? And said it was investing in community resilience through clean and sustainable infrastructure. Like just one.
I
verb.
think that goes back to one of the problems that a tool had though, was you really wanted to have support, right?
Support, yeah.
As sort of like a collaborative partnership type. I don't know, I'm gonna sit this one out.
Yeah.
Can I offer, and I cut you off, so I wanna make sure you get a chance to speak, and then I wanna offer just a little bit of guidance on that.
So one of the things that I've, when and we can do things differently here, when I participate in this process in previous roles, vision is something that you can picture. And mission is more about the process of getting there, and what I just realized is that this vision statement doesn't give me a picture as much as I'd like. But it's not necessary for me to adhere to that prior concern, because it's not one that Karina or our firm has brought up as a necessity for a vision statement. But I just noticed that this is not something, I can't picture this explicitly. it's more like a condensed mission statement than it is in that way, than it is a picture of the future
And we did, yeah,
milestone.
there are two kind of lines of thinking. One is your vision could be, what is your vision for your community? What is the future state that you want, the picture that you want to paint? Your vision, previous vision statement and the conversations that we've had about vision up to now have been really more about what's the vision for the PUD? How do you envision this organization serving the community long-term, creating community, engaging in your work? And this is one of the fun parts about wordsmithing, is that we just end up kind of refining this. So I am curious, so I also want to offer that your suggestion of maybe we can stop for a second, or if you want to, and present a few more ideas to contemplate at a future date. We can do that as well. But if we are thinking about what is the future that we're aiming for, what is the inspirational thing? What's the thing that rallies your staff, your elected officials, your community? What are we all hopeful for years and years and years to come?
Can I offer a thing?
Yeah.
Just, so instead of, I like support, but I also think investing speaks to that community. So what if we just said, building resilience in Whatcom County by investing in clean, sustainable infrastructure? And that does give me a vision. That does give me.
We're actually building, yeah.
We're building resilience in our community. And I think that's something to lead with. Yeah, go ahead. Liz.
Well, and I like that this isn't a passive voice, like to support.
Yeah.
Instead of actively doing something, you're either building it, you're supporting it, you're investing.
And what we're building is resilience, because I think that really speaks to the heart of what we do. I could be wrong, but we really want to build a resilient community to live in and thrive in.
And when you use that active voice, you can like picture what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Building resilience.
Building resilience in our
Action.
community.
Building
Do you want me to write,
Yes.
how about I write that up?
Yeah, write that down. Thank you.
So Jamie,
Building resilience in our community with investments, or by investing. By
in
investing.
community or Whatcom County?
And I think we decided we want to talk about community. instead of
Community, yeah.
county, right?
Okay.
In our community. By investing.
Okay.
In clean, sustainable infrastructure. That's all I have to offer. I'm done now. Thank you.
You keep saying that.
I'm not-
Yeah, it does. Off on that one. Okay. And if anyone with better handwriting wants to.
Come on.
I can write you a prescription.
Yeah,
So we can put a pin in that.
yeah.
Is that okay?
Well, unless Eddie's got
I like where we're going with it, and yeah, sort of bringing it back to, you hold it up against holding it up against the mission statement and like, we're.
Yeah, right.
Does it like, just to like, before we, so, I feel like we're getting really close to finding like wordsmithing, honing in on a sort of strong statement, and then it's like, is it making sure, are we still capturing are we capturing a more broad vision? So I was just kind of trying it out.
And then it's kind of what I'm suggesting is reason I'm suggesting we put a pin in this is because all of these different documents, pieces of the overall strategic plan, it's good if we allow them to converge collectively and like keep revisiting them and have a few iterations so that they all align up nicely.
Right.
So actually, we should probably go back in the next session with Paul Foster is revisit the mission statement and as well. Tweak that too, and with this new vision statement. So,
And we can do that as well, but I do think if we wanna go that route, I would recommend taking a look at mission, vision, and values together.
yeah,
And-
exactly.
You know.
What I'm saying,
So,
yeah,
and potentially.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Jamie?
that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I
Okay,
really wanna hear Robin's thoughts though.
You got 'em.
okay.
Chris, at one point, you really liked a vision statement we had a while ago, because you said it made your engineering heart sing, I think. And I'm curious, do you see, does this feel inclusive? Do you see you and your work and the work of your team in this vision?
I think so. I think so. And it kind of depends on, you know, I put myself in the position of a water operator and ask, does this fit? And I think it does. I think they get that. I think it would be important for us to flesh out the values at this
Mhm.
point, and I think it is important for us to revisit the mission statement. I think there's some specificity that you can work in that. You can put a lot more detail in that than you can into a mission, into a vision statement. The other thing is, I would urge you guys not to take a break on this. Put the pedal down. Let's not wait until next time. Let's go ahead and power through it today. And get her done.
Get the vision done.
The vision and the mission and the values.
Get the mission done today?
Yep, get her done. The longer we wait, the longer we wait.
I will say, I agree with you.
But Foster should be in the room for the vision, or mission, shouldn't it?
That's, mission, vision, values, I would think lies with Karina.
Oh,
That's not,
yeah.
that's not what they're working on.
Yeah.
And the reason why I feel that way is honest, I have a degree in English literature. Like, I will do this with you. I will wordsmith a sentence with you till the end of time. I really will. Like,
Okay.
yeah, we can
I'm
go
fine
a
with that.
million different ways and it'll take a million years and we'll probably end up here. So,
Okay,
building resilience.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of just trying to be resolute today, by the end of the session, and yeah, moving on to the mission values momentarily. Recognizing that we can, you know, it's not final till it's final.
right.
And as the whole strategic plan comes together, then you go back and review and be like, okay, is this now cohesive?
Yeah,
We can always cover,
Great.
it'll always revisit it. And I just had one more little truth. What if it was building resilience with our community?
Oh, I like that.
To kind of capture the idea you were saying about how there is
Yeah.
partnership, there's openness,
For me, that screws up the whole sentence.
does it? Okay.
Just in the way it like.
Cause on the buy
Like,
doesn't make any sense.
yeah, so,
It's like a
Okay,
vote.
I was just
I
making,
love it, I love the like thought behind
Yeah.
it, but I don't think it works.
Maybe the width can be somewhere in the mission. Can we put width on a?
Okay, that's the
With-
first word in the mission.
there was also there was the with investment was another way. I think Chris suggested phrasing it or something for with investment and. Split hairs here, but.
That's
yeah.
My recommendation is that we leave this as is. If you want to look at mission, we can today as well. I don't have anything off the top of my head to offer you as far as guidelines for crafting a mission. And I also am curious if you want to take a look at your existing mission or start from scratch. But first I wanna. Are we okay with, I guess I'm gonna ask the commissioners, are you okay with this as a draft? Any final?
Yeah. I'm fine with this, yeah.
Can I make one suggestion, just thinking through?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Well, when I see any sentence that's constructed where it's clean, comma, sustainable, just take out the comma, put and. And then it's just so much easier to read.
Oh, clean and sustainable.
Oh, you mean a list with just one comma?
Yeah.
Yeah, just get rid of the comma.
Right.
Okay.
Only two,
You're gonna put the word and in there, it's gonna be an ampersand.
Yes,
Okay,
right.
okay, well, I wasn't expecting that, Rita.
What if it was, I mean,
Isn't that?
That is an ampersand, yeah. or-
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
do we even need clean in there? Just,
Yes,
Okay.
I will fight you.
Okay.
I was like, it's sustainable, like, okay. Sustainable mean that, does it not, okay, what, yeah, clean.
Well, I mean, sustainable is, right now, sustainable means something else at the national level, so.
Yeah.
Sustainable
If
can
you
be,
put
yeah,
clean.
together it's
you're-
more clear, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, right, no, I don't know why. Just. Cool, yeah. Ampersand, we like, how do people feel about ampersands? It's,
Clean answers,
Yeah.
Let's get this down. Okay,
So Karina, you're suggesting that we move on to values at this point and then come back to mission?
I don't know what I'm suggesting at this point.
I think we should go on to value, because we did homework for values, we should.
Yeah, we gotta get.
And some you even turned it in on time.
You were not the latest.
1 minute,
Yeah.
1 minute research.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll take a quick recess.
Let's take a break. Building resilience in our community by investing in clean and sustainable infrastructure. Okay. Taking a break?
Yeah, we'll take a quick.
We did it.
So far.
So far, so good.
I am gonna write your current mission. Oh.
We need more whiteboard.
And in fact, when folks come back from the break, well, actually, no. No. Yeah, we do need more whiteboards in this office. I thought y'all were talking about getting a big.
Talk to HR.
HR.
They've got, they hoard all the whiteboard budget.
You have paper mache, something?
A net of paper mache. There is a 6-foot paper mache mountain out in the bay
I need to go check.
that has to be taken down today, you know, if you're not busy.
Let's write your
Mission on the side.
your vision on that.
It's pretty
I could
sturdy.
put it in my living room.
Well, if you could move the crab gear that's underneath it, that is the shell,
Oh, the crab pot.
it's a little heavy. There's multiple crab pots underneath, there's commercial crab gear underneath. in the
Hilarious.
structure.
Your mission, the work of this, why you exist. PUD.
Well, Robin, thanks for contributing to the.
I'm gonna. I need to order some, apparently I can on that we were.
I was just gonna grab a bottle of it, I didn't know where it was in place.
That's part of my ordering that I gotta do this week. So if I could get you guys to sign stuff real quick. So Jamie, you will have more to sign than the others.
Yes.
How was your vacation?
Oh, it was so good and so bad. There's
You
no,
need a vacation after the. vacation?
yes, there's nowhere in the world I love more than being at the ranch, and being with my mother-in-law for a week is also a nightmare, so. it's
You
really
need a vacation after vacation.
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about. Nana Heidi. Nana Heidi is a gem, like, she's hot and it's like. Yes.
So that was just here to look at it and I.
That's why I didn't want to have the popcorn earlier. I built the orange to be harmless.
They say, I guess where my wife and I are fortunate, that her mom passed away this year, my mom's been almost 20 years, so.
Oh, really? Well, like I said, my husband died and left me with his mother-in-law,
Ah,
or with his mother and my mother-in-law.
Nice place to be.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Well, I wanna be, yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair to her though, like, she lost both of her children before they were 35.
Oh my God.
So she drinks. As you would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Oh my gosh, is this being video?
No, I
Yes. Yes, it's still recording.
Oh,
We're in a break.
Yes, but technically we're still in, like, you're the public speaking in a public place.
yeah, true.
Huh?
So the Joseph Shea that we have up there on the attendees is still our
Yes,
gadfly?
yes. That's why I was a little, I mean, since we're in open session, when you had, speakers during your work session here, that technically reopened the floor to public comment.
What did? Oh, I see.
As the chair, I have discretion to recognize somebody from the public without entering a public comment.
Really?
I can suspend.
I don't think so.
I can suspend.
I think so. You can either completely suspend or completely open, but you can't do it partial.
Well, I'd get opinion on from John.
So they're still here.
Yeah, under my name.
And I reported them to Zoom support. And also there should be a way to find the IP address. After this meeting is done, I should be able to generate a report and find an IP address, so I'll get on that.
Okay. Thank you.
As soon as he gets back, I get his signature, I will be out of your hair.
He's ready.
So vacation's fun. Yeah.
So Karina, have we completely upended what you plan to do?
No,
Okay.
you know what's great about
Wait
this
for signature.
group is. This is exactly what I planned, which was don't over plan. We are gonna just roll with it.
We're flexible.
Yeah,
Right.
Was that in part of anybody's values? Wasn't flexibility, adaptability. Yeah, I think adaptability is some words.
I had such an email, I just need that list of the SAO of affiliations. and
Oh,
voting
yeah, I was
boards.
gonna ask you about that. Is that just our like committees that we're on through here?
No,
Or like,
it's
so
everything.
like you need to know I'm on my church board and.
Yeah, if you're voting
Yeah. Okay.
level,
Okay,
yeah, that's
all
fine.
right,
Thanks.
I am voting for my church board.
There you go.
Yeah.
Get them disclosed.
are we back?
Okay, all right. We'll come back in session. Everybody ready to get started?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're gonna go over values.
Okay. So I'm gonna explain to you the process and then I'm gonna give you some information to just look at. And we need to decide what we're gonna do with the information. So as y'all know, the assignment that I asked you to do, I asked Chris to send to a group of staff that he determined.
How many responded to you?
All but 3, so 5.
Okay.
So that was part of it. We have a little bit of an incomplete data set from staff and do you wanna describe what your decision, like who you sent it to or what level of staff you sent
I
it to?
essentially sent it to all my direct reports plus Paul. That's. Actually, I think we also sent it to Garrett. But that was it. Maybe they my direct reports plus Paul.
Okay, so we received input from 6, I guess, folks, but only 5 was, well, I'll describe that in a second. So some staff, most staff responded, as did Chris. You all 3 did. I took everybody's top 5 and I ranked the top one with 5 points. I assigned point values, so 5, so the top one got 5 points, number 5 got 1 point on everybody's list. And then I put them together. So I want to present to you all of the values and it'll show you total points assigned to each value or word. And then it'll also show you frequency, so the number of times somebody voted for it. I've also broken down on page 2, commissioners only and staff only, so there's an aggregate of everyone, and then it's pulled apart, and I do that because I think the data is just sort of interesting.
Okay.
So and I listed the questions that were in the prompt at the top of this document, just so you can review it. The final thing I want to say though, and it's probably self-explanatory, but on the second page, this additional list right here was from one staff person who didn't send me 5, they sent me like 11, and I couldn't confirm whether they were ranked in order of importance. I asked a couple of times and didn't receive a follow-up. So I don't want their work to be lost, but I couldn't include it in the information because it just wasn't in a format. You know what I mean? I didn't want to, so anyway, that is that. Here's your stuff. Let's just take 5 minutes and look at this. My first question will be to you, what do you notice? So you may want to make note of things you notice. Want to see? Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Oh, there it is.
So there,
Let's make sure. Unless you have a general question. Be faster.
Okay.
I'm curious to hear what you notice. I also one thing I forgot to tell you is that that I do have. Well, yeah, I have, in 2 weeks, I have a half an hour at the staff. Strategic planning session with Malt Foster to talk about values too. So, and I do not have a plan for that yet. I wanted to base that on our conversations today. It was just part of the process I forgot to tell you about. Okay, yeah.
The top thing that is shared between the commission and the staff was the integrity. The top thing that was, different between staff and the commission was community. And my response to Karina, I actually created, 2 categories. Just for the purpose of my own understanding of the values list. And, I thought about things that are relevant to operational excellence. Like the inward looking, and then what's the direction of the ship itself? I mean, a ship needs to be run well no matter what. So to some degree, that breakdown for me helps explain the difference between what staff would be focused on running a tight ship, and then what direction should the ship be pointing. Which is, my primary focus. So, that's fine.
I just wanna further put the point on that, community wasn't on the staff list at all.
Right.
Yeah, did anybody's top 5?
Yeah, which I think is important for us to think about, that sometimes I think there's a divide between what the commission wants and what the staff want to do. And I think that divide is really because we're focused on appeasing the community and the voters and constituents, and they're just not just, but they are here doing a job, right? And so that community, it may not be a thought in their mind. I think that's really shown here.
I think if one of the values had been, customer service, you would have probably had that on everybody's answer,
Yeah,
but it wasn't one of the values.
Yeah.
Well, service was,
Yeah.
service was.
That's different than customer service.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Right.
But I just want to be clear, service showed up on the commissioner's list, and it also didn't show up on.
No, it did.
It's on both,
Number
yeah.
3.
But only once on each, yeah.
Where's service on that?
Service.
There's one
Oh, yeah,
commissioner.
there we go.
I think, oh yeah. Financial stability also, was one staff person, which I know when I did staff interviews, that was a big. Or fiduciary.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And I think the point I want to make is that, it's not that all those things aren't important.
Oh, yeah, no.
They are important. It's just, as a commissioner, what do I want? How do I want to impact the direction of the organization? And that doesn't imply that, we give up the rudder or any other aspect of a properly functioning ship. We need a mess hall, we need all of those things for the ship to be operating correctly. So, it's not saying that, the other values are not important at all. I would not say that. It's just, what is the influence to the direction of the ship that I want to have?
You said you made in your process, you made a list for operational excellence, looking for organizational direction. Was that then you narrowed down a list that was on both of those? Or do you have?
I narrowed down a little bit on the operational excellence, but there was there was a lot of pieces to operational excellence. There's no way I could do 5 for that.
Well, right, yeah, that makes sense.
It was most of the remaining ones fell under the operational excellence. Yeah.
In my process, I was trying to think of, choose values that would reflect both. And I was thinking that even when I, put community on the list was that, this organized, having a sense of community within the organization would be a strength.
Within the organization too, yeah, it's true, that's true.
I think that would be the one that's marked teamwork.
Teamwork, yeah.
I think that's where that value would surface for sure.
I'm surprised creativity scored so high.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's. I also think it's interesting to note,
Yeah.
that organizations have values, whether we name them or not. And they are the things that guide our decisions. So it's interesting to note. I think it's interesting to note the differences between commissioners and staff, like you said, because and because it's the framework that you're using to do the very specific work you're asked to do. But when we're doing strategic planning and we're trying to identify organizational values, a lot of times the decision maker sort of hands them down. And then they lose in some ways, then they lose their purpose. Because, if we don't, I get what I'm trying to say. If we fail to acknowledge the experience of the staff and simply say, these are the values that we want the PUD that embody, we miss an opportunity as well, I guess. So it's interesting, and like I said, to make note of differences. And then I think you all need to think about, what do you want to do with this? Do we want more data? Do you want to look at values and determine them through the lens of the decision-making body and what we want? Do we want to get more curious? Or, or prescriptive? I don't know. I found it personally interesting how.
Me too.
Yeah, I found it interesting how many, on the frequency side, how many ones and twos there were. And also some things that could have been, and when we take into account the other staff person, things like humor and fun and love and, forgiveness end up on here, honesty, loyalty, so some of them that aren't necessarily strictly operational. They're also like, how do we want to relate to each other? How do we want to relate to the community? How do we want to? So those are all, when I was going through the video, those were things that just struck me. So I wish I could say, here's your top 5, everybody agreed, and let's talk about how we operationalize these and to move to the next phase. But personally, when I saw this, I thought, I don't know if I have a recommendation.
I have a thought, I would just throw out there.
Throw it out there.
And just purely for the person, not wed to this at all, just looking at if we were to go with anything that scored higher than 4. And take that list and put a pin in it and then maybe work on, Chris wants us to do it all today. And put a pin in that list of values and digest that some more, just the commission. Now that we've got input from staff, and hold on as our preliminary list of values. And then kind of with the mission and the vision and the values, kind of start evolving those things together.
So that's 8 values.
No, it's 12, I think.
Wow. Anything, 4 and above, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay,
Just to whittle it down.
I thought you were saying above 4.
I hope. If you were to do that, I would add a suggestion and potentially an amendment. Some of these could.
Cause mine was a super formal resolution.
No.
So you better make an amendment. But I haven't even got a second on mine, so I
Oh,
don't even
yeah,
know if we got
sorry,
that.
I'm just moving on.
I'm a data guy. I think I was the one who suggested the
Yeah.
frequency. When I look at this list, it seems like there's a natural break point under service.
Oh, that's true, yeah, you mean above four, as what
Yeah,
James
so that's
suggested.
down to 5, and everything above that has at least 2 people that said, yeah, this counts.
That is,
Although
that is.
There are, commitment and humor also got two.
That they're below 5.
Yeah.
In the total score. So it's that combination of frequency and weight.
I agree. Thought that-
So I saw kind of a
Yeah, I'm
natural
fine with that
breakpoint
too.
right there. And again, it's not to say that anything that doesn't.
No, we could add,
Well, the things that are below that line are not unimportant,
of course,
to your point.
everything on that list is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can I say something, like, I kind of feel bad and I want to express, so I saw safety on the list and I'm not surprised to see that it ranked so high, but I thought that safety would be like an implied operational, like, that, like, it didn't speak to my, like, values as a person necessarily.
Yeah.
And I can see why other people
course,
scored it so high. Yeah, well, it scored high, I think, with my other commissioners also.
And also this question.
And it's like a
number one,
policy. like-
what principles guide my daily decisions and actions at work? Right? So
Yeah.
you can see how.
Yeah, if you're going to, you're operating
Yeah.
heavy equipment,
Yeah, I
your
just,
safety
yeah.
is a value for you.
Yeah, I had it number 1 on my list because,
Oh, it was number 1 on your list?
yeah, I was the only one who had it on of that, and I guess in my process there, when I was whittling down to 5, it was in the top 5, and then I was like, well, safety first, right? If it's there, it has to be first, so.
Safety
Yeah, and the second was integrity, but
Was our safety?
I was thinking of it as, yeah, like as it's a day to day, it's just it's a steady, it's an ethos everyone needs to internalize, right? But I was thinking more broadly in lots of senses when we're thinking about like the direction
Mhm.
that we're going and like what kinds of infrastructure we want to build and maintain.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or decisions we're making, it's like, you know, we're making if it's a choice between, say, like, rates and safety, right? Or financial, like a financial cost and assurance of safety over a decision we have to make on something like replacing water treatment plant. That it comes up as a value, right? Or whether or not a certain type of something like, yeah, whether we should build something or not, right? It's just core to what our decision making.
Yeah, well, and I don't always make safe. Safe, well, not about overdosages. I don't think that the safe decision.
You know where
That
safety
does-
ranked online, right?
Yes, yeah, I know, I wasn't even surprised, that physical safety is one thing, but I, like, as a decision maker, I don't always wanna make the safe decision.
No,
Right,
Well, okay, if you're talking about.
right, that's very different.
Yeah,
Okay.
I look at it as purely
So-
operational safety.
So I made a suggestion and then Chris made another suggestion about where to, kind of what list to work with.
I think Karina's gonna make a third suggestion.
You wanna make a third suggestion?
Yes. So the next part of values is the values work is really articulating what we mean by these words. Because they mean a lot of different things. And I think I've used with this group the example of hospitality. If we say hospitality is one of my family values, and I go to your house and you say, you know, hospitality, and we share that value, they can manifest in completely different ways. You can say, here's, you know, here, I laid out all of this food for you and I've created this beautiful space for you, and that's your version of hospitality. And mine would be, help yourself, my house is your house, you know, stuff's in the fridge. So
What do you actually mean it?
what we mean is the
Yeah,
same thing.
yeah.
And so I like the idea of identifying a breaking point in this list. And then exploring what do we mean by the words above the breaking point, and perhaps there's a way to define or describe them. To incorporate or consolidate the list, if that makes sense. So I'm suggesting that we identify a breaking point in this list to start to work with, and then start thinking about what two values sort of mean the same thing. Is there a way for us to describe them or operationalize them to encapsulate what we're really trying to get at? What are your thoughts, Chris?
I think that's a viable path forward.
Yeah, and certainly leaving the ability to nominate a value back into the list, that we later decide got missed, that we want, that act nicely complements the list we have,
I also want to recognize, and I'll say it again, in a couple of weeks, I have a half an hour with staff, and I don't know if it's all staff or just this, or the same,
It's that core.
that same 14. But we can ask them to do a little work around this as well.
Mhm.
So one of our next steps could also be, let's identify a breaking point and then try to prioritize those, or identify a breaking point and then, operationalize them. I do agree, though, that, so the two places that have been identified are under service or under from commitment up or from service up. Based on the data.
But I agree with Chris that it should be service and above, because just the frequency, combined with the score puts that as like a natural point.
I guess, when I looked at, I felt like trust, ethics, leadership and commitment.
No, those are good, I know, I'm sure I included
So-
some of those in my.
So,
Unfortunately, each of them only had one person that
Mhm.
used them,
Mhm.
so.
well, commitment had to.
Oh, it did.
Mhm.
Humor had to, but it only scored 3.
I know,
I don't know. And then do we wanna talk about each word?
Yeah, so do we agree we're gonna go from service up?
Eddie, no one heard from you. We could say above 2 for frequency and above 3 for score, and then we would add humor and commitment too, if you wanted.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Include those on the list. Commitment and humor.
I had commitment in my top 5, but I'm not that committed to it, I guess.
I had commitment in mine also.
Well, yeah, so if you look at the data behind, commitment only occurred on the commissioners and humor only occurred on staff.
Oh, interesting.
Just as a note.
That's a good note.
We all value humor for sure. We do.
We
It
do.
feels like it might not belong in the top.
No, it probably doesn't. So let's go with Chris's suggestion, is that great? Are you okay with that? Eddie?
Yeah.
That's the one severe flaw here, services lowercase.
I know, I've even corrected it all the time.
It should have been an uppercase, and I just don't understand. Why would somebody do that?
Service with a capital S.
Okay.
It's a
So,
conspiracy against service.
We're gonna hear about it later.
looking at integrity through service. Are there any that seem like a duplicate?
Not to me, I think they're all really different. Do you wanna talk about food too, That's weird.
Well, service and community strike me as very much aligned, maybe not exactly the same thing, but they go together.
Because you're thinking about service to the community.
Yeah.
They do go together.
They go together. They're not exactly the same thing, but noting if we have community in our vision and or mission statement.
I see that kind of coupling, team respect and teamwork go together, adaptability and creativity go together.
Peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah, so I'm not sure I want to combine them though.
Okay, let's do this then.
I think what Chris mentioned earlier about teamwork and community, I think it's a bit of, like, Eddie, you were saying, community amongst staff, like having that sense of community. I think that staff will see that as teamwork, and if you look at the lists, teamwork shows up as as a high number for staff.
Yeah.
And isn't on the commissioner list, but I think it's just a different way of looking at it, so.
Yeah, because we live in different,
Right. live in
our teams are slightly different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
correct.
I
Yeah.
think that there's some, I think if you flush that out with staff, you would find that there's some similarity there. I don't know for that, but I think that that's a good point that you would have to determine that by speaking to staff, but I think you would find that they're probably talking about similar actions.
Was my loading.
Yeah, me too. That's what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, do I do what I wanted to do next, or do I give y'all a chance to just continue to percolate a little bit?
Can we talk about creativity?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay, which one of you chose it as your number one?
I don't remember. I put it up there. It's high for me.
Yeah, so one of us chose it as their number one if it has a 5. So only one of us used it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it must have definitely me.
Yes. Why? What are you getting to? Like I'm not coming for you. I just want to understand
Yeah,
why this one ranked number one for you. Like why create? Like, are you thinking about like to think outside of the box for new projects? Like what was the idea behind it?
absolutely think outside the box, yeah. I
Gotcha.
mean, so I, you know, I've, my experience is that, organizations can be rigid,
Yeah.
and almost always demonstrate some aspects of calcification, rigidity, doing good things like we've always done them. And and instead of taking the approach of just trying to break the rigidity, I think the right phrase to use is creativity. To get around rigidity. It really is being open to the idea of, you know, creative problem solving. And I think it's uniquely something that I can bring to an organization, increase the creativity within the organization. I certainly have played that role in the past, in the organizations I've been part of,
So I do see
encouraging creativity.
Yeah, I see.
Creative, and particularly creative problem solving.
Yeah, so I see crossover, just to go back to your question, with creativity and adaptability, because
Yes.
I think the heart
That's what I
of
was- yes,
what you're seeing is what I describe as being adaptable. Like seeing a problem, this solution isn't gonna work, what are we gonna do next? You see that as creativity, I see that as adaptability,
Mhm.
the ability to like be flexible and have new ideas and generate, you know,
Yeah.
creative thoughts. So,
Resilience is also a synonym for that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
Like,
Yeah.
in,
It is, yeah.
Okay.
What else do you have to say about this list? So it's long.
It's a long list. I'm not surprised that integrity was number one. Not surprised.
I mean, it's the one that, it's a word that I was most attracted to, and so I intentionally didn't list it as one of mine, because I figured everybody's gonna hit through that.
Yeah.
I was like, what do I want to contribute is what I'm thinking, but you know, I know that, I mean, it's very important to me personally. But the thing is, I'm thinking about, I'm part of an organization, what do I contribute?
You do.
Obviously I'm gonna support integrity, but I'm not going to you know, list as my number one.
I think for
Contribution
Yeah.
to the organization, that was my logic, I didn't,
interesting.
there's a lot of things I like on the list, but I'm not gonna list them as my number.
See, and I think integrity is the number one thing that I bring to the organization and just life in general.
Mhm.
For me as a person, whether it's here on the church board,
Mhm.
at work,
Yeah, for me, it's more of a.
it's
given.
what I vote for, it's what I stand for. Like, it's-
Yeah, and I, you know, it's just different philosophies of how
Yeah.
you communicate, and for me, it's like, it's a given.
Yeah.
Let's stand up and look at these slightly differently, and I want you to put put the ones together that you think go together. And what I mean by go together, I mean like could be written into. they can contribute.
Well, let me
Contribute.
find, what are we trying to get at here?
We're trying to get feedback.
Whittle it
No,
down.
I know, but like,
And potentially,
what's a successful list of number of values from your perspective?
probably 5.
Oh, cause see, that's the thing that I'm trying to, that's what I was exactly trying to understand. But why 5?
I think because the way that we intend to use them is to really, again, guide decisions, guide culture, help us understand who we are, how we make, you know, how we behave with each other. And I think it was Simon Sinek who said anything more than 5 just starts to get lost.
It's just
Okay.
a list of words.
Just becomes a list of
Yeah.
words. And what I'd like to do is get to 5 and 5 that are defined. So back to that hospitality exercise, I want to define what these mean to us. And so when we just said, would you say community and teamwork kind of go together?
Community teamwork and service kind of went together.
They do all of them go together, yes, all 3 of
I
those.
can orient them this way. if you
No,
guys-
yeah.
That's fine, no,
But-
I can see from.
But, so then we would say, okay, what is the in this case, I would ask you to group these if you want to, and then say, and then ask what's the dominant value here? And then how do we build the other words into the description?
Yeah.
Right, so so if that's what you wanna do, then I would suggest we can start there and see if there's anything.
Well, and
more.
I think creativity and adaptability.
I'm fine with that. Yep.
Yeah.
Don't be
that's-
afraid.
I
We got there, we got
Put
5.
this one in there too with it, or leave it?
Integrity and respect, do you see
Or-
those as being?
We got 5, guys. 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5. We're done.
Yes, but
Uh,
so the thing that we need to arm wrestle over though
Unless-
is which of these is a dominant, like which of these speaks to, like, is it community? Is that what we wanna? And then we wanna describe what that looks like. It
Yeah,
looks
we can-
like
we can-
teamwork and
yeah, we can-
service.
yeah.
It looks like,
Also, right, we're not actually limited to these precise words, like we could.
No, we can come up with a third
substitute
word.
a term and another, something that captures
Yeah.
the idea there, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And there might be.
I
another
just want
word
them to look.
that- There could be another word that represents those things.
atta girl.
Also, like. I mean, to me, like. 3 values is sort of what I pictured as like, we would land on like just, I don't know, when you look at. Just,
Mhm.
cause is 5, I mean, if we're gonna go, I'm not like opposed to going with 5, but I think like 3 sounds strong and then it's easy to remember and it looks good on a placard and, you know, say if we just went with like these top, like these 3, would that, are we leaving something out that we wanna capture? Maybe we are, but.
I feel like.
How does safety, tell me how
It
safety.
doesn't, I feel like safety has to stand on its own, right? Like that's, don't you,
Yeah.
I mean, you lead with safety. I think we're a utility. I had a conversation with Chris about open-toed shoes that hit me right in the feelers and made me decide to wear closed-toed shoes out. Yeah,
I had a bad open-toed shoe experience yesterday, as a matter of fact.
I mean, I have half of a toenail because I wear sandals when I shouldn't.
I was grocery shopping and
So,
I'm sorry.
well, I read some research, this goes way back, some, a couple of authors named Kouzes and Posner. And they posited that respect and integrity are, components of a value called credibility.
Credibility, I like that.
And so if you go back and read the old Kouzes and Posner stuff, it's. Credibility.
So what if this is like credibility and this is resilience? They don't speak to you the same?
Really, I mean,
we don't have to fix that yet. We're just trying to get 3 categories for.
I don't think we can
I'm
get
gonna
3.
propose that we go with 4. Cause you know, the 4 musketeers.
Credibility is an
Yeah.
interesting.
And there was 3 musketeers and back to the 4 musketeers.
And to name it.
I'm okay with 4.
So-
Integrity.
The the service,
Integrity.
the service, teamwork, community thing. Teamwork is service inside the organization, community is service outside. the
Yeah,
organization.
yeah. Yeah,
One way to look at it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that if you ask staff, because that's where the teamwork largely came from. If you said service and teamwork, they would go, yeah, we get that we're serving each other. We're
But they
the same
don't
team."
for community.
They are worried about getting the job done well. And that's for our existing customers. So that's really the focus of staff in a lot of cases.
I think he's saying that of these three, service would be the
Yeah, it's
dominant
service.
word.
Yeah, whether.
Service would be the dominant word.
If it's internal service, it's teamwork. If it's external service, it's community.
yeah, I agree with that
Yeah,
one.
I think he's right. Yeah. It's-
I'm gonna talk about another aggregation that I'm just seeing pop up, that's not here, and that's, just wanna bring this up. That group of, the things that scored 4, they all group together, trust, ethics, leadership, and commitment all go together.
And that's, to
And
me,
they
that's all
use
integrity. That's all
Trust.
integrity.
That can all be.
I think that
Thank you,
So-
thank you, yeah.
this is what I think that we should look like.
Here's this, here are the subs.
What's that?
Adaptability.
Well, why did you separate those? I'm not sure I understand.
Well, I don't, because I said just, these are what those are my favorite. I'm wondering if we should show what people sort of like, what they prefer.
But are you grouping adaptability and creativity?
Yeah.
And your integrity and respect?
But I don't think that we need integrity and respect. I think that this is redundant. I think that somebody that leads with integrity
Oh, okay.
is respectful. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, and adaptability is creativity.
Is creative.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
like, and so I think that, like, if we had to whittle it down,
Yeah.
that's it, I'm done. I've spoken.
Yeah, I think we got 4 categories, not 3.
And I think they're all equally important.
You said trust, ethics, leadership, and commitment were all part of integrity.
Yeah.
As is respect.
Respect, yeah, and that
Yeah,
one's under
those
there.
are all, that makes sense.
Does safety have any children?
Well,
No,
only,
it's just curious.
I mean, only in that, like, I was talking about, safety when it comes to decision making versus safety.
Yeah, I
when
would
it
be,
comes to, like,
yeah.
operational safety or
I think
physical
this, yeah,
safety.
means operational safety.
Yeah, mhm.
Okay, so do we have a draft list?
Can we put, just use a phrase again, can we put a pin in this? As our.
Well, I have a next sort of layer of questions then. Do we
Yeah.
have a draft list? Right here?
You mean?
I think so, yeah, yeah.
Like the,
Yeah, so what is it?
Service, basic, yeah.
The service?
With that, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so so service is the word,
yeah,
and these are the little children. Safety. Right? Integrity,
yeah.
a bunch of children. And these are 2 separate?
No,
Oh, they're together. I don't know if there's a better word to describe
I
them.
feel like there's another word that maybe gets it.
well, we're gonna get to it, it's okay.
Yeah, oh,
Should we say adaptable?
Yep.
Adaptability.
I'm
instead?
fine with calling that the parent.
okay.
I don't feel like it's quite the right word, but it's I guess the concept,
Okay, English major.
How about
yeah.
ingenuity?
That was one of those that I was thinking of, is that,
Cause that's what we're both talking about when we're describing those words, is being ingenuitive,
Yeah.
right?
Cool English teacher.
I don't know how to spell that.
ING. Want me to write it down?
Yeah.
like,
Which are the phonics?
Well, they're paving on out in the-
what if it's like? What is solution? Is this what, like, is this, it's all about, it's like getting at, like, solution oriented?
Yes, yeah,
Right.
yeah, being flexible, adaptable, huh?
Innovation.
Innovation.
But I think all of that fits
Ingenuity
under
is a better statement
ingenuity.
of a value than the word innovation. I think it means the same thing.
But that's ingenuity is like ingenious, though, isn't that concept a little more like?
So, again, dictating behavior and the work product. So the water operator is looking at these values and saying, I have a decision to make between path A and path B. What are my guideposts? What are my guiding values for the organization? Service, am I in service of our customer or the community, my team? Am I safe? Am I operating with integrity? Am I,
I don't think they would ever go to ingenious. Am I ingenious in doing this?
I'm sorry,
Right.
But you don't, not every value has to govern every decision. I mean,
No.
that's,
just testing, I feel.
Well,
I like innovative. Or
Innovative.
innovation.
I mean, we're talking, but what we're essentially talking about is problem solving. That's,
yeah.
is there a good way to
Problem
say
solving,
problem
yeah.
solving?
Creative problem solving.
I think solution oriented was something, did we say that already?
Oh, that's corporate.
Yeah.
No, it was something like.
I don't have
toward
the
that,
list of
yeah.
corporate.
Yeah.
I mean,
That
I
works
like
for me.
innovation and ingenuity, like here we are, words.
You didn't like innovation,
No, I'm the one, I'm okay with innovation. Make it innovation.
but Chris didn't like.
But Chris doesn't
innovation.
like
Yeah,
innovation. Well, what do you
What's-
think?
It precludes invention.
Okay, so what do you think?
Oh.
Inventive?
All
Ah.
of these
Where
words.
innovation is where something is improved. Invention is where something is created whole cloth. So I don't like either.
Do
distinction.
you like adaptability?
I like adaptable. I'm not sure that gets at what the commissioners are aiming for, though. I'm not.
We're talking about being so like
What
creative problem solvers.
Creative problem solving.
about generative? No, that doesn't work.
No.
Because then that would be generation, and then it would.
I think people want to use generative AI for everything.
I'm looking at-
ChatGPT, how should I solve?
I know,
my
I'm
problem?
looking up synonyms, right?
There's also like flexible, fluid, that we're all,
Versatile.
yeah, versatile, all of these sort of like. Oh man, I'm just like a
Versatility.
dictionary of synonyms. I've given you guys like 15 already.
Can we play around with adaptability for a little while?
Yes.
Yes.
Can we call this the parent for now? And my final thing I'd like to ask of you is for you to think about the behaviors associated with these values. How do we know when we're leaning into them? How do we know when we are acting in service? And here is a reference list of behaviors. I can only credit Brene Brown for this. I did not create it. There is a typo. She has these as I statements. I made them we statements, and there are a couple of typos, so forgive me those. And they're kind of long, but I would love for you to each think about behaviors associated with these values and write them down or highlight them or something. And maybe try to find three
Instead of 4.
behaviors for each value.
Oh, that's.
Okay, and you can come up with your own. These are just kind of spur your thoughts. I'm actually gonna modify it. Is it possible for y'all to write down the behaviors associated with each value? so that we can put them and we have them.
Kind of like this.
Yes, but write them on.
Oh. Okay.
Make sure to put the value though on the sticky note.
Do you have like a bulk compact for bulk sticky note pads?
Yes, I do. But yeah, definitely put the value on the sticky note in case it gets lost. We'll know which one we're talking about. Or in case it gets. And we're gonna take 10 minutes or less. Huh?
Nothing. So I kind of don't know what I'm doing.
Do you want me to help? with the
No,
clarification?
so you just want us to choose from these lists of like, we're flexible, we'll go with that adaptability.
Yeah, like, how do we know?
How do we know that we're moving that?
Yeah, what's the behavior associated? I mean, like I said, you don't have to check anything on this list, it's just this.
Among us.
I've been sighs.
I'm a sire, I'm sorry. So much work.
So sorry.
No, we did. Okay.
Yes. It's not like that.
Wait, we've got 5 more minutes.
So you want us to write one of these behaviors on each and then stick it
Yeah,
over there?
yeah, which I understand is also cumbersome, but I like the idea of being able to see
Super
it.
cumbersome.
We just made lists for things. I
Yeah.
just add my
Yeah.
list to this stuff.
Yeah.
And I can,
And
follow the directions.
It's okay.
that Made my own.
it's what we expect from this group.
Insubordinate group.
Oh, yeah, I let you know, yeah,
That's our job to be
That's
insubordinate.
fine.
yeah, this is great. Jamie didn't do one on each sticky note. She just did 3 on one sticky note for the same
That's what I'm doing.
value too. That's great. I'm just gonna write service.
I need another couple minutes.
Safety. Okay.
Work faster.
Integrity.
I watch too many chef shows. Fast.
I think the value, the bottom of these sticky notes. In case they get separated from their parent. So. Yeah.
I didn't get up because my quads are really good.
Oh. Did you? Did you bike a hammock and pass and?
No, I drove to the trail.
I did that, I biked to the trail. And then I did,
Oh, wow.
but we started at the. Campground, downtown. Not this.
So it's the second day, that's usually when I get the soreness, second day.
Not elevated, but just, right.
Yeah.
Cause you write the values on the bottom. Okay.
At the top.
At the top.
Yeah.
I'm going to attach them too, so I don't
Hopefully my handwriting's not too bad.
lose.
Well, that was a good exercise to think about the behaviors.
Wait until you see our values.
No, it's not. Maybe you could. Lisa suggested, resourceful or resourceful, yeah, resourceful. For,
Oh, and adaptability.
yeah. I kind of like the play on words there, but
Two resources.
yeah, natural resources,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Okay. Come read what others wrote.
If you can.
If you can.
Yes. Very coherent. Makes your job super easy now.
I love, we can receive respectful feedback. I give and receive respectful.
Did you go back this weekend?
Yes.
How do you actually build integrity?
It's a good thing. Yeah, I like it better than church.
Did you know?
Yeah, I went up to top end. Yeah, I showed my pictures.
Yeah. It would be a bummer to get up there and have a meeting.
In Mount Baker, I can get the cloud kind of masked. This cloud was actually behind Mount Baker, but you couldn't get a clear picture of Mount Baker. With the camera, I can see with my eyes, but I'm not a photographer.
Sorry.
So,
Why do we not have a fourth for safety?
because there wasn't a lot of behaviors that really address safety.
Oh, God. I'm gonna do a bit of on that.
In the list of the, in what I'm looking, when you looked at that, it took a little bit of work to
Oh, yeah.
map those over.
I just made my own stuff up.
Yeah. I tried to map a little bit, but
I think some of the ones I wrote for others could maybe transfer over to that. Yeah.
I think there's a significant number of cases where like we attributed a behavior to the different values. But a lot of the same behaviors came up. So interestingly enough, so that may be worth thinking about not having the behaviors actually mapped to the values and just also consider just seeing behaviors that came up for us as repeating behaviors that reflected all the values, maybe. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I think for some of these behaviors, right, they could reflect all the values. and
Yeah.
That's
Some of them at least seem like they, yeah.
is
Any other comments about that process or what you observed?
Well,
or-
so just to sort of put my own spin on that comment, I noticed that in service and integrity, a lot of the behaviors for integrity matched the behaviors.
Okay,
for
that's
service
true.
specifically. And that's because to provide good service to your community, you need to behave with integrity, right? Integrity is also a behavior. So I don't know what to do with that, just something I noticed.
Yeah, so a lot of the kind of behavior statements that we're using here are not behavior statements.
Right.
They are value statements in and of themselves. And behaviors have to be three things. They have to be observable, they have to be describable, and they have to be repeatable. So for instance, you have to be able to see somebody do something and then translate that into English and be assured that in a similar situation, they would behave similarly. So let me give you an example. Karina, can I pick on you, please?
Please.
Karina, you drive too fast. Is that a behavior?
Could be, might be your opinion.
Observable.
It is my opinion.
Yeah.
That's all it is. If I said, Karina, I followed you down Porterley Way yesterday, you were going 65 miles an hour, 6 feet off the bumper of another car.
That's a behavior.
That's a behavior. It's describable, it's repeatable, it's assumable. Assume it's
Pretty
repeatable.
impressive.
So
That's
that's
the way
what.
I drive too.
Right.
It's like, I could.
But if it was another car with 65, it must have been, you must have been following a cop
My
car.
brain went to, was he behind? Was he?
So, I mean, clearly I've done this a couple times. When you look at integrity, and I think one of the things in there was that we have to be flexible. And you're right, whoever wrote that, you're absolutely right. What does that look like? In terms of integrity? What behavior set did you see that led you to that conclusion.
That's hard to, yeah.
It's hard.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, so it's, behaviors are hard. There's actually companies, their entire business model is teasing out what behaviors actually mean and then educating the company how to change them.
For the sake of this conversation, I totally appreciate that, and for the sake of this conversation, I didn't want to be overly prescriptive, but rather give us an opportunity to explore these words and kind of what they mean to us. And whether or not they're something that resonate, and whether or not, we can know if we are embodying them or not, we start to describe them, so I appreciate that distinction, and I also love the opportunity to really think about, like, what do these words mean to us?
I certainly didn't limit it to behaviors, and I knew that. So when I made lists of things that I thought those words meant to me, like what does this word mean to me? Like, what does that look like? I feel like you had a light bulb moment that maybe you wanna share.
No, I just disagree with something.
Oh,
I don't
that
think.
too is a light bulb moment.
Well, I just heard them say you have to have flexibility to have integrity. Did I hear that correctly?
No, I think that was one of the attributes that was in there. And I'm not saying you don't need flexibility to have integrity.
Oh, I would say that I don't necessarily agree with, I think sometimes having integrity is
Rigid.
rigid and not being flexible.
Even when the world changes.
Well, no, but I'm not saying that. I'm not saying in every instance that you might not need flexibility. I'm saying that there are definitely instances when
You draw a hard line.
when holding your integrity is not being flexible. And it might not be, you hold that line and people are not necessarily in agreement, but your integrity.
For instance, human rights, right?
Well, I'm
Non-negotiables.
I mean, I can think of instances in my career where I've had, I'm not been able to be flexible, and that was part of the integrity of doing the right thing.
Mhm.
So that was all. I would say that there are definitely times when you need to be flexible, but I would not say.
So. Sorry.
I think that's a really important point.
Mhm.
Yes.
You got it.
Okay, so we've got these four values, and we've got now fleshed them out a little bit. And this is the first time we really had a values document in this last year. We've been working on this. Now we've got a mission and we got a vision and values. And what it would be good for me is to now like put it all together.
I think if you wanted to edit this, there is an opportunity to do that either with this group or else, or, today or elsewhere. I also think that I would like to test these values with the staff. I would love to talk, it's just a half an hour exercise, but if this feels like the draft, I would love for your team in 2 weeks to have an opportunity to sort of weigh in and see if they can identify behaviors, if they can identify with these values and behaviors, and or provide us with feedback about what these words mean to them.
One thing that we did talk about, but we haven't excelled on, the suggestion was made to substitute resourcefulness for adaptability. And I don't think we landed on whether to do that or not to do it.
Can I ask so you don't like the word innovation, why?
Because it precludes invention. So innovation is where something's already been invented, you're improving it.
Right.
Sometimes you need a new mousetrap. It's not an improvement on an existing one, you just need a new one.
That's interesting, Chris, the definition here. Innovation is the process of introducing new ideas, methods, or products. You have to create value, improve existing systems, or solve problems.
Yeah, and then take a look at the definition of invention.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly not what I would intend with the word innovation.
Creative ability. Powers of invention, Invention means a new product or process that involves an inventive step and capable of being made or used in industry.
That was it. It just, you know, it has always struck me that innovation is an improvement on something that's already there. Invention is creating
Something
something new.
anew, yeah.
And really, we're looking at both.
Mhm.
So that's why saying one kind of precludes the other for me, unless you wanna say both, but.
Do you think, I mean, are utilities a place where invention happens?
Occasionally,
What I like about resourcefulness over innovation or invention is that it doesn't really. It could be, it could just be recognizing that we're, maybe no invention or innovation even required. It's like, oh, we already have what we need to do it. It's sitting right here. We just never utilized it correctly. It's like it could be using something in a more appropriate way, that, you know, doesn't necessarily require an invention.
I would,
Amy just got a light bulb.
no, it's not really a light bulb, it's just how I, like, how my brain works, like, I see the word resourceful as like brown, like it's thrifty, it's a little bit like
Old fashioned.
old fashioned. It's certainly not a glamorous or shiny word. It's kind of a dull word. I shouldn't ascribe things like this to
I
words.
don't
but
need it to be
do.
shiny, but.
But I like it's a very unsexy word, resourceful.
Yeah, I know.
And I would also describe myself as a very resourceful person. So I'm not saying that it's all of those things are negative. I'm just saying that I don't know that when I am talking about creating this like forward thinking, you know, strategic plan, that I want the word resourceful. I don't know.
Let's make resourceful sexy again.
We're bringing sexy back.
It's interesting, because I was trying to think of a word that would replace, you know, when you were talking about solution oriented problems, you know, like, as you were talking about adaptability, and
Right.
so that's where I was trying
Yeah.
to do something that would incorporate all of those things.
And it does.
I appreciate the suggestion. I think resourcefulness though is more of an attribute than a value. If there's a distinction,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're always like almost the same thing, but you know what I mean? Like you describe or commend someone's resourcefulness, but is that like
Well, yeah.
I don't know.
Chris, I think you and I should arm wrestle over innovation. If I win, we get innovation.
There are some definitions of innovation refers to the implementation and adoption of new products. But it's the adoption of them, not the creation of them.
Yeah. And adaptability is what we have right now.
Adaptability.
Which is nice, adaptability is nice. I think adaptability, like it's all of those words. I also, like, there's part of me that's like, dude, just get rid of it. And then we have service, safety and integrity, which is a good list.
It is a good list.
And like but like I personally feel like this is what I bring to the table. Do you know what I like what like this right here is, but also that's not what every person in this organization brings to the table, right?
But they can be part of your service,
That's true.
you know,
Mhm.
that adaptability,
Mhm.
you know, resourcefulness, all those things can be part of how you are
Servicing your community.
servicing your community, providing service.
But I think something you hit on that just struck me was the first three categories are all right now.
Mhm.
And adaptability is really about looking to the future.
Yes.
Right, that's, yeah.
Forward
And that's-
thinking.
That's,
We'd be missing
unfortunate.
something without it.
Yeah, literally, the quality of being able to adjust to new conditions.
Mhm.
In a
Which
changing
means-
world.
Yeah, and it's changing in your changing
Yeah.
world, yeah.
Kind of like dynamism, like being dynamic, maybe.
Yeah, I think there's some.
Mhm. So, so are we okay right now with service, safety and integrity? and adaptability as a working
Yes.
vision or
I'm good
value?
with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you okay with me transcribing what you've written and also running just a very condensed version of this last bit with staff to see if we can get
I
some,
think that's
Buying
great.
you.
yeah,
Especially,
It's not even buying it at this point, it's validation.
yeah.
What we want is for people to look at it and go, well, yeah, of course, that's what I meant.
Maybe someone will throw in a word over there into that basket for us too.
no, they're gonna push for innovation.
So, and thank you, that was exactly what I was gonna say, is we don't want, yeah, we want buy-in. We want people to say, yeah, this makes sense, yep, this,
Yeah.
what I offered is reflected in here.
Can I have you read our current values for my
Absolutely.
fellow commissioners?
They are,
And everyone else?
they are words, they're
They are
sentences.
words.
They're sentences.
Yes,
They're words.
they're words in sentence.
This is not gonna go, yeah, okay, I was just thinking. My brain's starting to short.
What's in our current strategic
Yes.
plan? This will be humorous.
It's great.
Well, that is interesting. Be committed to those who serve in the community. To have service and community in there. Treat everyone with respect and compassion. Pursue solutions within the PUD's local authority to help our community. Be innovative, question the status quo. Act strategically. Practice lasting stewardship of our publicly owned assets and natural resources.
Now, where's stewardship reflected here?
And our vision,
In the
our
mission.
vision statement, vision, mission,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So we have community, we have respect. Compassion, solution oriented. Innovation. Acting strategically, some of these are, yeah. Questioning the status quo, practicing lasting stewardship.
I just wanted you all to hear that, not because of innovation, but because it's good to know that like we are, we're tracking with what we've thought in the past.
There's some continuity.
And there's some continuity, but also some like nice fresh ways of talking.
But it's the interesting thing. Would you call stewardship a value?
No.
No?
I wouldn't.
It's an outcome. Would you say it's more of an outcome of doing these things here? Like, is that a behavior then? Or is it just an outcome?
I don't know.
Cause I remember the old commission, before the two of you were, stewardship was a really key word for Steve and for the other commissioners. I'm just trying to remember that. I'm not saying we should be in any way anchored to that. I'm just thinking about what was driving that.
Well, remember, they were in an era when the future looked very much like the present and the past. And so it was important to have the ability to preserve what comes out of the past for the future, and that's the nature of
Now, I'm
stewardship.
speaking for myself. For me, the way stewardship resonated was protecting the river, actually. Stewarding our natural resources.
Job of supervising or taking care of something.
Yeah, and that is. You
That's
guys
it.
are a steward, this is your mission, current mission.
Yeah, stewardship's in the mission.
Yeah, in the current mission,
Current.
not the new mission.
Well, we don't have a new mission.
Well, we do have a draft new mission.
Vision.
You have vision. I mean,
That's the old
We don't
mission.
have marching orders.
This is
Vision,
I wrote this
future.
mission up here, the vision is on the other side.
Okay.
The mission's
Well, we
right
don't
out.
have we haven't written a new mission yet?
No.
Okay, when you said that, I thought that was a new draft mission, okay. So, the
So-
question, I still would like to get your thoughts on that question, is stewardship an outcome? Is that how we see it, or is stewardship an actual driving factor? Do we seek to be a steward, is what I'm trying to
We
say.
seek to be stewards.
Here's an interesting other definition. Stewardship is an ethical ideology that embodies the responsible planning and management of resources.
That kind of, okay.
yeah, it feels like appropriate to, to include.
And I think the mission is a good place to include,
Yeah.
personally, I think the mission is a good place to include that.
So can we put a
It is,
circle on that word, just to make sure we hang on to that word, because it's not reflected here. And it's not reflected in the vision.
Yep.
But I think I'm just hanging on to that word. Obviously, we have a new commission but I just wanted to share with you guys that that was a word that really resonated in the past.
And I think, like, as far as values go, though, like, that's being good stewards is a reflection of your integrity, right? Like,
It
if you
is.
wanna tie it to one of the values, being good stewards.
Yeah, sure.
I think stewardship is.
And it's how you serve the community too.
Value, it just doesn't have to be. All of these things that we talked about are standalone
Yeah,
values,
yeah.
but we're not gonna.
We're not gonna list them, yeah. I just wanted to bring it up.
I just wrote being good stewards of resources on a sticky note and put it in.
I mean, it also kind of goes under integrity, really. Integrity and community service.
In it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a point where wordsmithing starts to make our brains short circuit.
That
or
happened
just
about an
me.
hour ago for me.
Sort of, yeah.
So
My describing words is breath. We're done.
So what you guys, y'all said yes to my ask, which was to sort of replicate this with your team to some degree, and then bring you some feedback. Which feels like the last or the next step with values. And you're gonna want to refine some sort of a sentence that operationalizes the values, that again distinguishes
Right.
the behaviors. Those are two different ones, really. But that will not happen today. The final thing you had suggested was to work on mission, which is more word stuff. Okay, wait, what did I just do?
I don't know either, but those two went together. Safety was the
Safety by
common thing.
itself.
There we
I
go.
need a stapler. Oh, thanks, Chris. You wanted to adjourn at some point around noon, so you are ahead of the game.
Great,
Yeah, I'm not complaining about that.
finishing
And-
early.
Yeah. Chris's suggestion was to work on mission. I'm not sure how.
I can't do it.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
I'll second the motion.
Yeah.
I'll second, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Perfect. All right, so next steps, vision. I have a
That's
draft.
the only one you don't need to staple.
See how I need to get going now?
Yeah, she can't do it either. We're done here.
I can, send y'all some homework or some prompts around mission. You can
Yes,
wordsmith it without me. Next meeting, you can leave it as is. Y'all get to decide.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys need to decide.
I would like to have can we do it at our next meeting, work on mission?
Sure.
Can you be here for our next meeting?
Things are smoother with the facilitator, but you can do it.
Yeah, would you be willing to come back for our next meeting to work on this?
When is it?
In 2 weeks?
Just
for today.
Yeah, the 22nd.
Yeah, July 22nd.
Yes,
Do you have time constraints?
I,
Oh, we can do it, we can shift it and.
if I could shift it towards the latter half of the meeting, like if I could get here at. What time do y'all start? 8?
8:15.
Yeah, we could adjust the timing though too.
I just have it 8:30 to 9:30 every Tuesday. And
Could you be here by 10?
Yeah.
Does that work for you guys?
Yeah, maybe we start the meeting at 9, cause if we don't have a full agenda.
Do we not have a full agenda?
We'll have a normal agenda.
Yeah, I mean, we just get through it in an hour.
I don't care. I mean,
Cause
guys
we
have
start at
me
8:15
every other Tuesday,
and we
so-
get done at 9:15, then we'll be waiting for a bit, so.
And I will have been here the day before for the staff thing, so we may also have some feedback from the values exercise with staff.
Does that make sense to start at 9, Chris?
is this the region's shift?
Guys, call. I mean,
I know.
you got the front staff's for.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
I'm asking, does it work for staff if we start at 9?
You won't be here.
Oh, you won't be here.
Kurt will be here, but it.
You'll be here, yeah, what works for the person?
Joseph is,
Has a question.
I just want to clarify, commissioners, as it stands right now for your agenda for next meeting, there's only one action item that I'm aware of now. There's a potential, there's a bid opening that will be happening and decision making on that for your next meeting. Outside of that, there is nothing out of the ordinary for the agenda. So if this did want to be done, we can have it definitely within that strategic planning section of the meeting. And then obviously refer to John, but I believe if we started a new time, there has to be a motion to do that. And we have to put out notice.
That's correct.
Okay, so let's make that motion, start at 9.
Okay, I mean, if we start at 9.
A second,
On July 22nd.
just for that one meeting, yeah.
And I can leave Bellingham at 9:15.
So all those in favor?
Oh, we didn't get a second.
Oh,
I seconded.
Okay, great.
The only other thing I might mention, you have a number of things that would be on the agenda or normally, and you could reorder the agenda, so you get 45 minutes of things like your commissioner reports, the other reports
Yep.
done in advance.
As a matter of fact, we could, not do commissioner reports today and do it just at the next meeting, because,
I
yeah.
don't really have much to
Yeah,
say.
there was
I'm on
a
vacation.
report as of
Yeah.
getting this agenda together, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seems fine.
Okay, and I will put something together for y'all to think about in advance of that meeting. Think about what missions are, the purpose that they serve.
We can try to do our homework on time.
I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if there will be homework, but if there is, I'm sure you'll do it on time. We're not gonna be here at all. You're not calling in.
I'm on the road.
Okay,
So commissioners, who made the motion, who seconded, and then there was not a completion of the vote.
I made a motion,
I seconded it,
Tool seconded, and we all,
All three said aye.
all three said aye.
Okay.
So,
And commissioners, I will be there in person next commission meeting.
great.
okay, so we have no, public comment, we have no executive session, we have commission reports, I guess I should say. Is there anything, urgent, or good of the order the commissioners need to bring up?
We could do public comments.
do we have anyone?
No, we don't have.
You struck that from the agenda already, so we'd have to add it back on.
Yeah, there's no one here, so.
What?
And we heard from
Robin's here.
Oh,
I'm good, don't add it back for me. That's my say.
Okay, so, if there's nothing else for the good of the order,